the first thing that I want you to acknowledge is nobody is running from this. And we're facing this head on. And just like Brother Mansour said, it's a test of your sincerity. So now, when I read this, when I read the 6130, what you have on your screen, it says, I used to play with the dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. So we're talking past tense. When Allah's Messenger والسلام, used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. Okay, so it's all talking past tense. Okay, now you're connecting these two, and let's see how you're connecting them, and inshallah I can help your understanding.
Brother Maurice, before you go to the next one, this part about in the brackets, it's not in the Arabic hadith, by the way. No, this is an explanation. It's not. That she was not reached the age of puberty has nothing to do with the text of the hadith.
Omar, but he says he has a couple friends with him or something that are interested in Islam, and they're going to ask questions. So Omar, can you hear us?
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I can hear you. So I have my two friends.
Wa alaikum salam.
So we live in the West, and I have like two friends here that have some questions, and I'm like newly converted. So I'm still learning very much about Islam or religion, and I'm not so good at explaining the things that they are asking about. So that's why I brought them here, so they can ask their questions and hopefully get rid of their doubts.
MashaAllah, bro. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and, grant them guidance.
Yes, inshallah. So you can start, my friend.
Yes, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. Yes, so we're three friends, live in the West. I have my respectful friend Omar here. I respect him very much. He's a Muslim. And I'm very curious and have a lot of questions. I have been deep diving to Islam and seen very much of good things. And I've done my research, and there are some stuff that I can't use my logic to come to a conclusion. So then I tried asking my friend, and I'm wondering about them. So I don't know if I should have asked them freely, because I have some screenshots, and I'm.
You can ask. You can ask. Don't be offended or shy. Just ask. I mean, this is where what we try to is to make things clearer if possible.
Is it possible we ask him his background? Like at the moment, what do you believe in, brother?
Yeah, sure. So I have been I'm myself a Somali, and I've been raised in a Muslim background. Though we live in Europe, religion wasn't near me, and I haven't grown up as a Muslim, but my parents are. But now I'm trying to reassess my religion and hopefully find the truth. That's
you believe in God, though, right?
Yeah, to an extent, I would say so. Yes.
All right, go ahead with your questions.
Yes, perfect. So I have been my main research has been about the Prophet Muhammad, and it has been as I understand, it's the best person that has walked on this earth. That's the explanation that I got, and I have had different stages in my life that I've heard stuff about the Prophet, and one of them are his marriage with his wife. I'm very sorry if I'm going into deeper stuff that I shouldn't know about or stuff like that, but I just want to ask them. Okay, perfectly. So I would refer to
you can give the Hadith number.
Yeah, the Hadith.
You can just tell us exactly what your issue is based on what you've read. Yeah.
So basically, it's the marriage that they had, and as I understand, she was playing with dolls before they got married, and she was playing with, and she was immature. And what I can come to the conclusion with is that if you look at the Quran, you can't bend the rules and the laws of the Quran till today. Because if you look at like the basic stuff that I know about, alcohol is wrong, drugs are wrong, and it's not something that a Muslim would bend on today. But if you look at today, I don't know how it was at that times, but I wouldn't go and marry someone in the start of their puberty in a young age. And I don't want to offend someone or try to say something bad, but I just want it to make sense for me, or try to get it as clear as possible.
So according to Aisha radiallahu anha, there is a hadith in Sunan al-Tirmidhi. I don't know how much you have looked into this topic. According to her, when she was 9 years old, what does she refer to herself as? As a girl or as a woman?
I haven't looked to it, so I'm going to be honest with you and tell you.
So she refers to herself as a woman.
Okay.
So that basically tells us in that society, because remember, we're talking about almost like 1500 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. So at that time, because you see this entire idea of girlhood or boyhood, and then you have a teenage, and then you have adulthood. It did not exist, even not until like 100 years ago. We didn't even have that. Forget 100 years ago, literally, like you can see even in the West. I live in Brazil. I've come across so many old couples over here. They've gotten married. I personally know of so many couples. They've gotten married at the age of 13. Okay. So now imagine 1500 years ago.
Yeah.
Back then, it was either you were a boy or you were a man. You were a girl or you were a woman.
Yeah.
Okay. So according to herself, she was, when she was 9, she was a woman. Okay. Then on top of that, do you know the criteria of marriage that needs to be met in Islam?
If I understood it, it's the person has to be in puberty, right?
Okay. So there's no specific age in Islam.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a lot of wisdom behind that. Okay. So one of the criteria is physical maturity, which will be puberty.
Yes.
So look up any medical dictionary, even till this day, you will see, and there have been studies showing as well, whenever a country is closer to the equator, in this case, the Arabian Peninsula is actually close to the equator. Both girls and boys, they actually matured very quickly, right? Yeah. So the normal age of maturity or hitting puberty, you will actually see in any standard medical dictionary, it says 8 to 13. This is quite common.
100%. The thing is, I'm not trying to.
One second, I'm not done, right? This is one of the criteria. So physical maturity is one of them. Then you have the mental and intellectual maturity, which is normally determined by whom? A girl is living with whom normally? She would be obviously living with her parents, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So who would know the child better than the parents? If that child is mentally mature, is intellectually ready to get married or not?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then you have the social acceptability as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the fourth thing is we have the no harm, or the harm principle in Islam. Okay. Which means that you cannot cause harm to an individual. So it doesn't only apply, in this case, it wouldn't even apply to a girl of a minor age, but it could be a woman that, let's say, of 70, 80 years old, 90 years old, or it could be even less than that, right?
Yeah.
The harm principle, it stays constant. So all of these four things, the criteria has to be met.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And where like my doubts are coming from, it's not the because something that's very like strange is how everything the narrative right now is not the narrative that existed back then. 100%, I get that. But when I'm trying to read about the Prophet, I have seen that like a woman, I don't know if she was a slave, her description of Aisha in the objective way was that she was playing with dolls, immature. And
Perfect. Got it. So let me ask you this. We actually have a comic nerd right here on stage with us, my brother Ali. Okay. Now, I used to play with comics when I was a kid, and he's a grown man. Okay. And he loves comics, right?
Sorry, just one question. Can you also explain? You
Mhm.
told us before it's maturity from the parents. Can you explain? Because I don't think, because I believe it's myself who will decide if I'm mature or not. My parents cannot decide. Like, can you explain? You told this point. Can you explain
Mhm.
also what you mean there?
So
Well,
that's why I started off with her own testimony first, that she refers to herself as a woman at that age. Okay. And then I talked about the parents.
Hmm.
Does that make
But
sense?
sorry, but cannot be like, if you ask a child anything, she can always agree.
Define a child to me, my brother.
Yeah, for me, it's if a person is not mature.
Keyword,
And
keyword for me.
who?
That's the issue we're running into. The moment you actually say for me. So let's say if you were to say, give me an age, for instance, give me a random age. What do you think, an age for a woman would be? Like when you were referred to somebody as not a child, let's say.
Just a second. I will come to your point. What I mean for me, it's from my understanding, because we have also checked the tafsir, and they also agree with us. Age of puberty or maturity is 15 to 18. So we are also
No, no,
like,
forget the tafsir because we're jumbling up too many things together.
okay, okay.
Okay.
No, but
So
for yeah,
yes.
so if you ask us like from our understanding, we will say it's 15 to 18, I would say.
Perfect. So
Yes.
then my next question to you would be, why not 19? Why not 14? You know that I don't know where you guys live, but in Europe till this day, in the United States, so many states, they allow marriage for boys and girls at
13
the age
year
of
old,
13, 13 years old.
13-year-old.
In European countries, I can pull up the stats for you right now. Google it. There are so many countries that allow kids to get married at the age of even 12, in so many African countries, and by the way, not Muslim countries. Okay, 13, 14, it's very common.
Yeah, but the thing is now it's age 6 to 9. You see, we had a talk here before together. We understand if it can be 12 because we tried to like check, but the matter is it's
You know what?
below 12.
Let's
You understand
let's
what we're
try
talking?
this, okay?
Yes,
Let's try this, okay? So, all right, you both of you guys say you guys live in the West, correct?
Yes.
yes.
And this is what the brother's been trying to tell you about when it comes to physical, emotional, and mental maturity. Now, let me ask you brothers this question. What is the average life expectancy of people in the United States? What age?
I have no clue if I'm gonna be honest with you.
So the age of the average life expectancy, it's around 60 to 65 years old, right?
Yes.
So because people who typically we with medical sciences, etc., we've evolved or we've basically regressed to the point where the average person dies around the age of 60 to 65. That means they
Mhm.
have a long life to live, correct?
Yeah.
Now, the longer your life, right? Wouldn't you say that, well, because you have time, there are things that you don't have to do in the very beginning. So we're talking about in this world, right? So
Yeah.
let me ask you guys this. Now that we established that the average in this world today that we're living in, the life
Mm.
expectancy is around 60 years old, right? Now, at what age do people typically get married? Isn't it around 25 years old, right?
Yes. Yes, I would suppose
No,
so.
it's subjective because it's
No.
differ
I'm
from
saying average. I'm saying average, the normal average. The normal
I will
average.
say in whole
Don't people one second. Don't people in the United States normally get married around typically around 25 to 30 years old, right?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. So that means what? You get married at 25 to 30, and on average, you have about another 30 years of your life, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Now let me ask you this question because we're talking about a different time back then. What do you guys know what was the life expectancy of Arabia in the 7th century? Do you know what age?
No, I got to understand what time they get married, but not how long they live. No.
No, yeah. On average, what age? Also, yeah, that in America here, the average life expectancy today is 60 to 65 years old. In Arabia, in the 7th century, it's half of that, meaning 30 years old.
Okay.
So back in the 7th century,
sorry, brother Ali,
let
just
me
a
finish.
second.
One second, brother. Can I finish, Aki?
Yes.
Okay,
No,
yes,
no worries.
thank you.
No worries. So one thing we understand when it comes to physical maturity, a physical maturity, and this is what I'm leading to. In Islam, our criteria is you have to be physically mature, and you have to be mentally mature, and you have to be emotionally mature. Now, physical maturity, that's something that's biological. And the way that we understand if our physical bodies are physically our physical bodies are mature is one word, puberty. And the way how you can tell if a woman has reached puberty is if her menstrual cycle, she begins to menstruate, she starts her period. That's when you can tell a woman is physically mature. Remember, I only said physically mature. For a male, we start seeing traces when a man hits puberty. That's when you start understanding with the man, he's physically mature. So these are things that don't change. Everywhere you go, that's the criteria for a physical maturity. The other two, which is what I want to get at, the other two is where things get subjective. And what I mean by subjective, mental maturity and emotional maturity go along with what country, it can be what region you live in, it could be what time you live in, because today we live in the 21st century. I would say that historically, we have it easier with medical sciences. We live in a first world country. Like, you better say you live in a first world country. Things are on average easier today than they were 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago. As a matter of fact, my friends, 400 years ago, if you get a paper cut, you could die from that because penicillin was not invented. So people had a lot to deal with back then, right? So would you guys say that the harder your life is, the faster you mature? Would you brothers agree to that?
Yeah, to a certain point, yes.
Exactly. The harder, on average, the harder your life is, the more you have to mature. Look at us today, how us in America today, when we live, in the first world country, we don't have it as tough as people suffering in Palestine. We don't have it as tough as people suffering in other places, including my country. So I would say that people who are suffering in my country have grown up faster than I ever will because they've seen things I've never seen. They've experienced things I will never experience. They've been through stuff that I can only imagine. So because of that, the brains grow up. They become adults at a very young age. You see kids, their parents are dying. You see 13-year-olds becoming the head of the family because their father is gone. So you have to grow up with the hard experience, right? Now that we understand that the harder the life is, that means the faster you mature, the faster you have to mature mentally and physically, and emotionally. Let's take a look back 1400 years ago in the 7th century in Arabia. I told you, brothers, the average life was so hard back then, my friends. The average life expectancy was 30 years old, meaning
Can I stop you
at the age
just
of
there, brother? Just a
uh, go
quick
go
point
ahead,
there.
go ahead, go
Yeah, three things. I will put you one of them because we have been discussing here a lot together. Uh, we have heard this argument because if you think the prophets' other wives, if you check what was their age, and you will also check the ages of the prophets and the men there.
So,
None of
and this
just
and brother, and this is
let,
and
let
this
me
and this
just
is why I said, one
no, let
second,
me
and
just
this is why if the questions that you have, if you let me finish, you will get the answer to those questions. If you let me finish.
Okay.
Okay, but you were finished
Uh,
with first point. I just want to clear you because if you check the ages
mhm.
of the prophets, otherwise they were not near to anything. They were about like
Okay.
upon 60,
Okay.
30.
What does average mean, my friend?
No, average means in average. I don't know. Yeah,
When
in average.
the word average means the word average just mean again the word average means there are people that are older than 30. That's some people that die older than 30. There are some people that die younger than 30. The word average means the normalcy, the normal age that people typically die around that time. That's what
And we
average
only
means.
know a handful of prophets, by the way, in Islam. You know, that there aren't a lot of
Thank you.
prophets that we know of.
And on top of that, as well, I did not, when I say average by the age of 30, I didn't just say everybody who turns 30 dies. That's not what average means. Average means most people in that society die at 30 years old. Some people can die older than that. The exception to the rule does not change the rule. So even if you do show, well, this person made it to 60, this person made it to 50, all you need to know is that a majority of people died at 30. That's what and that means that was the environment at that time. That's how crucial it was. So we've understood that people, the normal age of life expectancy is 30 years old. Now, let me ask you brothers this question. If you guys realize that you're living in a time where at 30 years old, you might die, literally at 30 years old, because a majority of you die at 30. Would you guys wait till 26 to get married, or would you guys wait till younger to get married?
No, I would definitely consider marrying before.
Thank you. So and I'll tell you what the normal amount is. The same way how normal amount, because we live at the age of 60, and then we typically get married at 25, 30 years old. Now here's the problem. Divide that by 2, because if you live at 30, divide that by 2. That means people are typically, and I'm talking about like getting married and having children, by the way. People are 13, 14, 15 years old expecting to be mothers and fathers in Arabia in the 7th century, because they know their life on average might be gone in the next 15 years. So you have to literally grow up mentally and emotionally fast because of the time that you're living in. I mean, back then, like I said, there war, slavery was going on. People can snatch up, yourself, your wife, God forbid, your family. There's, even when it comes to Arabia, there's the females that were being born, they would bury the females alive. So it was very, very chaotic back then. So you grew up very fast. So the simple fact that, for one, our mother Aisha, radiallahu anha, we went through the 3 criterias. Physically, she reached puberty. Physically, meaning physically, she's a woman. That's one criteria. Mentally and emotionally, was she a woman? Yes, she was. Why? Because, for one, evidence shows that she was living in a society where people end up growing fast at the age of 10 years old. People are expected to be mothers and fathers at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. So her realizing that her saying she's a mom, she's a woman in the first place, that was normal. 2, when it comes to mental maturity, it goes along with the times. And what we don't need to do, and this is a problem how I see a lot of us, we can react, we tend to judge the past with our own experiences in the present. That's the fallacy of presentism. It's like me saying, wait a minute, because of my experiences in this country, I'm going to judge what the people are going on in Gaza. That's I'm not going to do that, because that means I don't understand. I'm not living where they're living. I don't really get it. That's the same thing I would ask you brothers to do when we talk about things back then. So, and that's, as a matter of fact, that is the purest example of what Islam says, because, for one, Islam gives a criteria. No other religion gives a specific criteria on what makes a man or what makes a woman, even when it comes to marriage. No other religion does that. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he does not give a certain age to get married. He says, you know what? He understands that Islam, of course, obviously, Islam is a universal religion. That means anybody in every society, the criteria that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses in Islam for marriage, that's a criteria that it does not matter what empire you live in, what time you live in, what country you live in, what someone in the 7th century can follow it the same way how we today can follow it as well. Meaning, you have to be physically mature, puberty. You have to reach puberty. 2, you have to be emotionally mature. Typically, how do you know you're emotionally mature? 1, you yourself you give your own testimony, and 2, your parents, because your parents would know you more than at a certain point in time. They would know if you're an adult, or they know if you're still immature. And 3, what experiences have you grown up in? Have you been through things where you're able to take care of a family, you're able to take care of your husband, you're able to be a wife, you're able to be a husband? Have you done the things necessary to do so? And in this country, we know if we're able to do so or not. So let's not judge people based on what they went through back then, because one, the mother Aisha was a full woman. So it just sounds weird because we're saying, wait a minute, 9 years
Yeah.
old. We're seeing when we look at a 9-year-old, we look at how a 9-year-old is today, and we can't do that. That means we're saying, hey,
No,
you're the same
100%.
way you were
I
14
wouldn't,
years ago, and that's what we can't do.
yeah, I wouldn't say I'm not. I'm not sitting here and like judging from the past, because it's, if you look at the evolution of the people, you can't come to a conclusion from that, because if you look at average like marriage and back then and how it's now, it doesn't give me like it can't give me a concrete answer. But what I was wondering about more was the hadith that I read. I The thing is, it doesn't give me like a fair picture of everything, because everything that you're seeing indicates to be true, because no one described Aisha as an immature person or that she didn't hit puberty, but that objective description gives me a picture living now that, oh, was she a child, was she immature, did she hit puberty, and that's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, you can judge that based off of how the community responded and what her own father did, man. So if you see that she was eligible for marriage and the marriage was endorsed by her father and the community as well.
She was
then-
already engaged to somebody else.
Yeah, by the way, yeah, she was already engaged to someone else, by the way. A lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
So these were the societal standards. You also have to look at the magnitude and the caliber of the type of person that she was. You know, we have gained a lot of insights into the Prophet ﷺ's private life because of the transmission of a hadith that she would provide. And I'm not talking like 5 or 10, I'm talking thousands.
Yeah.
You know, she was a sought after scholar. She was someone who was very active in political events. She did a lot of jurisprudence studies. She did a lot of, there was a major contributions from her alone. And the most important factor is ask yourself, where did the Prophet ﷺ pass away? He passed away in her arms. So, you know, and at any point in time, she could have stood up and said, this is crazy. You know, you guys forced me to do this. I don't, blah, blah, blah. You don't find a single instance of that. You find completely the opposite, which tells you a couple things, especially if people sought her for knowledge. This was clearly...
Sorry, Brother Maurice, but there are hadiths which describe Aisha was not happy. There are two hadiths which describe she wasn't ready.
You have yes, yeah. And this is one of the beauties. It's not happy that she's not happy with the marriage. You have issues of jealousy, which is completely normal. And this is one of the insights into his private life that you get.
No, not jealousy. She wasn't happy.
Umar,
you know what?
My apologies.
I don't know. I don't know
if any of your
brothers
have.
I don't know if any of your brothers been married.
Have any of you been married?
You go ahead.
No, not yet.
Okay. When you get married, then come back. We'll have this conversation.
And here's the thing. Now, what was the conclusion? What was the conclusion of this? Right? Or like when the Prophet ﷺ saw his wives going through a tribulation, right? He gave them space, and he taught you how to deal with very intimate issues of like domestic issues, right? So you gain these insights from these hadith, and understand this, that it is very normal for her to have a reaction to her situation, but it's comprehensive what happened. Did you get a solution out of it? Or did you get this perpetual battle where she was struggling to trying to run away, but she was like being like a caged bird? You know what I'm saying?
We actually learn from those things. We can apply those teachings. Why do we refer to the Prophet, peace be upon him, as she herself actually referred to him as the walking, talking Quran? The very person that you're talking about referred to him as the walking, talking Quran. Why? Because of his character. look, he was a statesman, he was a father, he was an excellent husband, you name it.
Can I just come here, just a quick point quickly? So it seems like you understand that the argument presented to you is that there was no objection from her side, from her parents' side, from her society's side, either from the believers or from the non-believers. So there's no one saying and objecting to it. So you've come across like, okay, if this is the case, how about, so you've come across something like she wasn't happy. Can you elaborate a bit more? Because now you're saying, actually, no, this is not the case, where she has objections. What were these objections that you've come across? Because if we can clearly show it to you that, okay, giving you all the historical backdrops, giving you the reality of things back then at this time in terms of when and how people matured and how long they lived and when they should get married and so on, the idea of playing with toys and dolls, even to this day, grown-ups do the same thing, so it doesn't really give you a metrics to measure people's maturity because it's just a hobby. What exactly have you come across in which you think that she wasn't happy?
That's was my other friend. I'm not trying to, just to make it clear. I came across that it was a woman that was describing her playing with dolls, and I don't know exactly what it said, but she described her as immature.
What I was pointing to, rather, your point about she was not happy, because if we find that everyone is okay with it, including herself, her parents, her society, including the believing society and the non-believing society, because if this was not okay in the eyes of the non-believers, they would say, oh, look, how can a prophet do that, right? What about the Jews and the Christians and the pagans? If this was not okay, they should have objected to this practice and say, look, how it doesn't match the characteristics or the character of a prophet. But if we find no such objections from anyone, including herself, then we are saying now it's just a bit like, oh, this is a bit of a practice that we don't do and see here today. And this has already been covered by Brother Ali, that, okay, we are now dealing with the fallacy of presentism. We are judging the past with the present understanding of morality and ethics when it is already acceptable by then. But we're not just saying that. What we are saying is, it is not just the concept of past morality. We are saying this is a marriage between adults. Adulthood in Islam is not linked to a particular age. So it could be 9 years old, it could be 25 years old, it could be 26. If someone is not mature at 26, she's not an adult because she has not reached physical maturity. In that case, if it's going to be a harm done, then that's not marriage, it's not going to take place. So Islam does not pinpoint something like this with an artificial number like 18 or 12 or 13 or 16. It gives you certain conditions which we've covered already. Now, what is your concerns collectively that you're discussing?
Perfect.
What are your concerns?
61:30. If we look at the Quran and it talks about like marriage, it's like it's very strict, and there's a law. You have to reach puberty if you're gonna
61:30. Sorry, what about it?
Perfect. And the first thing that I've seen is that she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty.
Where are you seeing this?
I'm not sure.
He probably doesn't mean the Quran. He's probably talking about a hadith.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is something that you need to look at. I mean, this is if whole of the Muslim world scholarship, not just what we think as now trying to sugarcoat something. If the historical past is such that the consensus is she reached the age of puberty when marriage is consummated, then this practically in all sense, this is an adult marriage between two adults. Now, if this is the historical reality from the Muslim perspective, and there's no objection from the other sides, whether they are Jews or Christians or the pagan mushriks, then this historical reality is quite clear in everyone's eyes. Where is the objection? Marriage between two adults. Because we are looking at the lens of presentism, but I'm saying, okay, use that lens, marriage between two adults. What is the objection here? Or the concern, or something like, some people say this is like a doubt that I have. What is the issue here? Is that issue some kind of morality? And what is the basis of that morality? Marriage between two adults or unequal age? Is that what we are talking about?
In one way, it came from like the standards I live in the country that I live in, and then I would say that my morals are from there. And I'm not trying to like point fingers or try to like find false stuff in Islam. It's more that I want to come close to it. And
yeah, we're not saying and suggesting that.
Yeah, we're not
What
putting you on
we
the
are
hot
saying
seat.
is,
We're trying to understand.
looking at this angle, what is the objection? This is a moral objection, clearly, because you're not the first one that coming up with this question. We've heard about this before. We've talked about this before. So the question is presented with a moral question, like this is immoral. It doesn't fit.
I'm trying to
Is
understand.
this the angle of your question, that this doesn't look like it's moral?
Yes, I would say so. In not more. I'm just trying to understand from a perspective when I'm trying to read the Quran and they're talking about like women that you have to marry in when they're in puberty, and the Hadith.
But aren't you, just sorry to interrupt, I do apologize, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Do not conflate the actions of the Prophet, what he did as a prophet and a messenger to bring about communities of people into Islam in different ways and means, politically, socially, and so on.
Yes.
And the actions and the rules and objectives on how we're going to conduct our lives as believers. The Prophet ﷺ, he had some exceptional privileges or laws applied to him as a prophet, which we don't have that. For example, he was obliged to pray the the subh prayer, right? The early morning prayers at nighttime prayer. This is an obligation on him. We don't have that obligation. It is something that is voluntary on us, recommended, but it's not obligatory. He married more than 4 women because the marriage of 4 women is only up to 4 women, is up to us. There are many distinctions between the believers in terms of the rules and regulations that applies to and the Prophet, because he was forming and molding a society, and in which these things were contextual necessity, but then in the wisdom of our Creator Allah. So when we're talking about now current set of moralities and we want to see how this matches up with the Prophet's character, we need to understand, what is the basis of our morality? Why am I gonna question, like, oh, someone is like 14 years old, for example, now I'm marrying someone who is 90 years old, I'm going to object to that. I would say, why should I object based on our current morality? Because our current particular understanding the society is giving us is, no, this is how it should be. But this wasn't the case when Maryam alayhis salam, the mother of Christ, married to someone who was 90 years old. That wasn't an issue altogether. So we can't similarly just come up with today's understanding of what we think, and yet at the same time, the same society tells us it's okay to marry another man, or it's okay to marry women, another woman. It's okay, for example, in certain areas of the country to have relationship with even animals and so on. So we are talking about a time where people are coming up with some kind of moral codes which you would disagree with. So that cannot be the basis of it. So we come back again to the question, what exactly is the concern? What is that like you are uncomfortable with?
Yeah, no, I get it. And if you look at from just to like clarify everything, I went down to judging what puberty means and looking at with what puberty means in Islam, and it matches if you look at it from that standpoint. So I'm not trying to bring like other morals, but if we look at, if I just read the specific paragraph to you and try to explain it for you.
No. Before you do that, what I'm asking is, do you understand that from scholarship to laity, we're talking about Muslims in general, okay? I'm not talking about the reformists who are saying, no, she was 17 or 18 or 23. You have a lot of Muslim reformists who want to make her age like that. Ignore them. I am saying from the classical to even to the modern period, everyone agrees that the marriage was consummated when she became an adult. If this is the Muslim narrative, what would be your moral objection, emotional objection, or intellectual objection. I've given you 3 categories of objection you can come up with. We would like to know which one, and we can address each one in turn, inshallah, if this is the case. So what are those objections, and what type of objections you may have based on what I just said?
Okay, because the hadith is saying that she was immature. So what
Then you're going to the hadith.
Hold on.
I'm
what is
telling
the-
you the understanding from all of these hadith contextually, not one.
Yeah.
The whole corpus of hadith, the
Yeah.
whole corpus of the seerah, the biographical literature, the whole corpus of the Muslim exegetes in terms of their exegesis, their interpretive material, the tafsir. We're looking at all of this, including the books of the fuqaha. So we are talking about books of jurisprudence, books of biography, books of tafsir of the Quran, books of the hadith. Every single genre in which, if the Muslim scholarship is saying this is the case, you can't just pinpoint and say, oh, but this hadith seems to point to, oh, she's little and she hasn't reached the puberty. I am giving you the overall summation. What is the outcome of all the research based on all these narratives coming from these 4 genres of literature? One is biographical literature, one is literature to do with ahkam, hukum, what the jurisprudence is, one is to do with exegesis of the Quran, and one is to do with the hadith, the statements, the sayings, the approvals, the disapproval of the Prophet ﷺ. All 4 collectively gives us a picture, and that is the picture we have given to you. If you don't accept it, then that shows really there is something else going on. If
Sorry,
the
brother.
whole of scholarship is
Just
telling you this is
explain what we meant, and we just need to explain to you.
Okay. Before you do, hold on. Before you do, is there, just very quickly, Brother Mansour, if I may, what is the hadith that you're looking at?
Yeah,
He's talking about the one. It's right here. It's the one about her playing with dolls.
No,
I want to take a look at which hadith are you which hadith are you referencing, bro?
Yeah, sure. We can start with Sahih al-Bukhari 6130.
Sorry,
Yeah,
what?
6130. Right here. I put it in the private chat. It's the one with the dolls. 61 Bukhari 6130, right? It's in front of me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's the one with the one that says that she was playing with dolls. I used to play with dolls in the presence of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and my girlfriends also used to play with me, etc., etc.
Okay.
And the second one,
You know what? I'm kind of low key getting offended now, because apparently now you're saying that if you play with dolls, or if I may say action
I'm very
figures,
sorry. I'm very sorry.
then that means you're a child. And no, you want to talk about that? Because as a fellow comic book lover myself, what's up?
Okay.
No, because
let me help you.
the thing is,
Omar, let me help you real quick.
Sure.
If you're looking at the hadith for face value, okay, because this is what Brother Mansour was alluding to. If you're looking at the hadith for face value, you have to understand contextually what is going on. So it says, I used to play with dolls in the presence of the Prophet, ﷺ, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. So what's it referencing? I want to test your comprehension skills right now. What's it saying right there?
It was describing something that happened from the past.
Correct. So now I'm going to run a situation by you. Is there ever a possibility where the Prophet ﷺ came and visited his companion, and the companion's daughter was playing with dolls with her friends?
No.
What do you mean no?
Wait, let me read. I'm just trying to read everything again.
Think about what you just said. So if you remember, they were engaged. Okay.
Yeah,
exactly. They're scheduled to be wed for 3 years. Okay. So now, is there ever a time where the Prophet, I'm going to run it, is there a possibility that the Prophet came in and she was in a state of being a little girl because she has not reached the age of puberty yet?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So now, what happened? The Prophet ﷺ waited for 3 years. So now I'm going to beg the question to you. If this person is sick of mind and he is after something ill, a'udhu billah, why would he wait 3 years?
Let us give us the explanation. That was, we have 2 hadiths. The first hadith, there you can just let us speak.
So no problem. We'll take it step by step. So deal with this one first, and then we'll go on to the next.
We are dealing with it. I'm answering because you see, the first hadith, it's explaining a situation, Because if you read the hadith, there's also in the bracket in the hadith, the person is telling that she was immature, okay? But we don't get the context, like whether it was before the marriage or after, or whether it was when she was living.
But okay, so now, wonderful. So now what does it mean? It means that it is telling you one of two things. One, it's possible that it's before the engagement. Okay. Second, it's possible that it's during the marriage, but before the consummation. These are your two options.
Yeah, that's why we have one more hadith which shows her it was when she consummated her marriage at the age of 9, and that was we wanted to bring the other hadith.
Okay, so now what you're doing is what's the next hadith? And now I'm going to see how you're linking the two together. So what's the other hadith?
So I have the screenshots. I haven't read this one, but I'm gonna bring it up anyways. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported that Allah's apostle married her when she was 7 years old, and he was taken to his house as a bride when she was 9, and her dolls were with her. And when the Holy Prophet died, she was 18 years old. So bringing the dolls again, but I think.
So you see the connection, because the first hadith were not telling us the context. So when we put this,
you need to give me the reference of the hadith.
Sure. I'm very sorry.
Muslim 1422C.
Yeah.
You know, I do have to know first, brothers. Does playing with dolls mean you're a child? In general?
Yep. According to some understanding, yes.
Sorry, the hadith before is yes. No, it's not. The hadith.
So one second. One at a time. So
if you're playing with dolls, Brother Ali, now you're a child. Have to be. You have to be.
No, but this is not our watch. Is the hadith? Is the hadith?
That's what we're saying. Let's agree on something, brothers. Let's agree on something. If you're playing with dolls after the age of 18, you must be a child. Let's agree with that definition.
Yes,
sure. Now I'm offended.
Do you agree?
Now I am offended.
Brother Omar and all the brothers with you, do we all agree then? If you are playing with dolls, even after the age of 18, by our definition of consensus, you have to be a child. Let's agree with the definition.
No, we're not agreeing with that, of course.
Why not?
Because of course you can have your own hobbies and like preferences. So
this doll has nothing to do with it then. In that hadith, even if you bring a doll, and even if she was 35, it has nothing to do with it, because doll, as you're saying, doll has nothing to do with your being an adult.
No. The point is that, like, in the same hadith, in the end it says, like, at that time as she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. So that's like, it's not.
That hadith says that.
Yes.
Guys, hold on.
Hadith 6130. That way, it's not our understanding. It's the hadith which we're referring to.
Guys, we're gonna deal with the two hadiths. We're gonna deal with the two hadiths, guys.
Okay.
So
can we have it on the screen? Can you have it on the screen? Because Brother Mansour, it's not just for the show.
Yep,
so
no problem.
I mean, you do that, but I'm still saying now you have someone. After explaining the Islamic position, this is the scholarship on this issue, this is what the age is. You disagree with all this Islamic scholarship across the globe and saying you know better to understand these hadiths. Two hadiths that you're reading, you know better than every one of us. And in fact, this is the prime example of why you think it's doubtful that he was a prophet of God. I mean, this is something very interesting, to say the least. I mean, in terms of how you analyze people's character, in terms of analyze what is a prophet of God or not. This really shows that, okay, what materials are you consuming in terms of understanding Islam? If I were to ask you, did you actually go and pick up a hadith book, and then you started reading it, and you came across this hadith, or you've been fed this hadith? You've been fed this hadith, isn't it?
I would tell you that it has to be that it has got fed on test, but at the same time, I'm trying to have the stance that I'm going to be very, very honest with you. Every time I go to a mosque and ask questions, I get like not insulting like answers, but it's answers like, "Oh, you're looking for the wrong things," or "You're starting from
Brother,
there."
Yeah, because look at what
brother,
you're
brother, brother. These
Yeah.
question, this particular question of young marriage of Aisha radiallahu anha, is this the first time Muslims have heard about it and first time we're trying to answer? Or has this been already answered hundreds of times in different formats, audio, video, you name it, even animation perhaps?
Probably.
Right. So you don't need to go to a mosque and ask an imam. It's already there in your fingertips. You just need to ask there on your computer, and it comes up with hundreds of resources on this matter. So many different perspectives by scholars, lay peoples, by Islamic, da'is, scholars of Islam. It's already there. So you, by reinventing the wheel, tells us something about you. So we now need to understand what is your particular, perspective on this. What is your objective? If the response is already there, you seem to be unconvinced of all the responses. We need to ask you why. So now let's get to Brother Morris and really settle this matter for the audience who are listening, not for you to just, because you are not going to be convinced anyway, because all the responses that we're bringing, we're not bringing something totally alien. It will be there available in the net, for example, or in the library. But yet these responses were unconvincing. So whatever we want to give you now, what gives us the confidence that you will find it convincing? This is the question we need to ask. I'm doing what I call a psychoanalysis of your own self. Okay, so it's very important now to understand that your position is being critiqued, and you need to really ask yourself, why have I not been convinced by looking at all the answers? So one more time, Brother Morris is going to go to these two hadiths that you think is so troublesome.
Okay. Bismillah. So the first thing that I want you to acknowledge is nobody is running from this. And we're facing this head on. And just like Brother Mansour said, it's a test of your sincerity. So now, when I read this, when I read the 6130, what you have on your screen, it says, I used to play with the dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. So we're talking past tense. When Allah's Messenger ﷺ used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. Okay, so it's all talking past tense. Okay, now you're connecting these two, and let's see how you're connecting them, and inshallah I can help your understanding.
Brother Morris, before you go to the next one, this part about in the brackets, it's not in the Arabic hadith, by the way.
No,
this is an explanation. It's not. That she was not reached the age of puberty has nothing to do with the text of the hadith. The text is simply here. When Allah's Messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet ﷺ would call them to join and play with me. That's it. That's the text. So
yes. Now let's because I can see where his confusion is stemming from. Okay, so knowing that it's not part of the hadith, here you have somebody's commentary, okay, on this. Now I'm gonna give you the credence of the commentary and assume that's where your confusion is stemming.
Yes.
What you're doing though now is you're saying, okay, I'm linking these two together. And here's what it says. Aisha radiallahu anha reported that Allah's apostle alayhi married her when she was 7 years old, and he was taken she was taken to his house as a bride when she was 9. So here we have a textual error right here. It should be she was taken to his house as a bride when she was 9. Okay. So now, and her dolls were with her. Okay. So now the question you have to ask yourself is, when a marriage happens and she reaches the age of maturity, is she going to take her belongings with her?
not talking to some people.
Of course.
Is she going to take her? Okay, she took her belongings. So now, if she takes her belongings and she is now transitioning over to the other home, she's transitioning to the house of a new guardian, a man, her husband. What that tells you is that she has reached the age of maturity, because her father is now saying, I release my guardianship of her and I entrust you as her guardian. So for example, when I married my wife, everybody has to be present. And her father releases the guardianship, and I take it upon myself now to protect her with my life, and so on and so on and so on. This is the standard. This is the standard set by the nikah. So now, the condition of her maturity was met. She, upon meeting that condition, she is leaving her past domicilum, and she's going to her current domicilum. Now, whether or not she chooses to play with the dolls in the future is irrelevant, bro. It's completely irrelevant. She's just taking her belongings.
Okay.
So now what you're doing in your mind is you're saying, oh, because she's taken the doll, you're imagining this like little girl going la-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da, like this Polly Pocket kind of, dude, you got to get that out of your head.
No, brother Maurice, that was the hadith before. It's important to understand because the hadith before is not telling her when was she playing. Was it during the like marriage, before, after? That was these two connected, so we get the picture when it was. Because can you show us when she was playing with the dolls, what not in her house? I mean, in the Prophet's house. That was. Do you have to put one and one?
No, brother, you don't. What you're doing is you're making the connection based on your understanding, and this is what Brother Mansour is alluding for you. And what we're trying to tell you is, who the heck are you? You don't understand anything. You don't understand the chain. You don't understand the context. You don't understand. All you're reading off of is a translation, and then you're linking the two in your mind.
You can see how bad translation that is. He and she, right? Clearly.
Right. Right. They literally labels her as he. Okay. So these translations are not perfect. That's number one. Number two, these two hadith don't come in one after the other. First off, they're in completely separate books. One of them has to deal with the adab, or the mannerisms on how to conduct yourself. And the second one is in the book of marriage, or the kitab al-nikah. So like, bro, you have to understand what you're doing. You literally jumped from, like, again, terrible example, from like Harry Potter to like Transformers, and then said, oh, it's the same thing.
No, but you haven't shown us either a proof whether she was mature or not, because then you need to give us.
So now you have to say, what are the conditions? The proof is in the pudding, bro. The proof is in the fact that she was able to leave her home and go to another home. The proof is when it tells you that she was married at 7 and was taken to his house as a bride at the age of 9. There was a 2-year period.
Why? Why was there a gap?
Why? Because they had to wait so she can be mature.
Let's hear from our brothers.
I will tell you why. I will tell you why. Because in Islam, you can be physical mature, but you don't need to be mentally mature. That's the reason. So
incorrect.
Why we waited.
Incorrect.
Okay, I can show you the fact and tafsir. You want to try it?
Brothers, with all due respect, we need to kick this person out. I recognize who he is. He's been here so many times.
Have you?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes,
Let's ask him. Have you been here a few times?
This is my first time.
No.
You have quite a few of you here. Have any of you been here a few times?
No, it's our first time for all three of us.
Okay.
This guy.
No, that's fine. We'll take your word. I mean, I'll take his word. First time for you. But you're saying now going into tafsir and so on and so forth. So now my question to you, okay, say, for example, all the Muslims are wrong. The scholars are wrong, okay? She was a young girl and he went. Now, what's your problem? And based on what?
No, the thing is, this is my friend. He had a question, so we are just explaining. So No,
I am saying,
yes,
the questions that you're discussing, suppose that all the Muslims who are saying she became an adult, they were all wrong. Suppose. Now, if what you think is correct, that she was not an adult, my question to you is, what is your problem? What is the objection? Emotional, intellectual? What is the objection to you that you're finding? This is a moral objection, intellectual objection, emotional objection. I would like to know.
Yes, of course, because when we were listening to the brother Ali before, he told us one of the criteria to get married, it's
no. Forget the criteria. What I'm saying, let us give you, for the sake of argument, that she was a young girl, not an adult, right? All the Muslim scholars across the world, they've all got it wrong, for the sake of argument, to give you that. Let's grant you this for the sake of argument. Now, In your understanding, she is not an adult, and now she's going to the Prophet's house as a married girl. What is the objection, and what category of objection is it? Is it a moral objection? Is it an emotional objection? Is it an intellectual objection? We need to categorize what objection is so that we can answer it. Because you don't find yourself comfortable in accepting this event, what is the objection?
We want to understand from the Islam's perspective.
We have given you the understanding which you've rejected. So now let's come back to you now. Since you have rejected the explanation and an understanding that we've offered you for the last half an hour or so, what is the now objection that you have based on your understanding of the events? Because you were about to show us, oh, what about in this tafsir and that thing? You were about to demonstrate to you your understanding. So let's take your understanding to be correct.
So we find it hard for us to come into Islam. This is one of the
based
reasons.
on what objection, though, my friends? What objection do you have in this event that is preventing you to accept Islam? What is the nature of the objection? Is it one second? Is it a moral objection that you're saying this is not morally sound? Or is it just emotionally, I feel it's bad, it's not okay? Or is it some kind of intellectually that I find a barrier that this is not a character of a prophet?
100%. I would say it's
which one?
It's emotionally, because everything I've read about the prophet, I've read the good things too, and I'm very happy to feel that, and I can sense the good picture. And I don't want to I haven't read that much, and I haven't learned everything about everything, and I'm not the right guy to make all the connections, but I just want to delete the
why is this an emotional thing? Is it because today people marry when they're really, really aged, like 18 years and over, right? A 17-year-olds and 11 months, she cannot get married because she is not ready yet, because she needs to be 18. Is this how we start judging the world in terms of when people should get married? What is if it's an emotional one, I want to know, what is the emotional thing here? Do you feel emotionally like, oh, no, someone needs to be at this age exactly to get married, and they shouldn't get married earlier than that? What is it?
We believe that, if it's a child, then we don't accept it. What we believe. That's what we are like.
Okay, so now you have set up a criteria. If someone is a child, we don't believe that they should get married to an adult, right?
From the start, yes.
That's our point.
From your perspectives, your morality is that, in your current understanding, you find it objectionable, uncomfortable for someone who you think is a child to get married to an adult, right? That's your objection, right? And this morality stems from what grounding? What is this morality grounded on? Now let's go to the very root of the subject matter. Okay, this is important to understand. Our moral concept must have a firm grounding. It's not going to be just I feel like so. You can have it emotionally. What is it rooted on? What is your solid foundation? If I say, for example, look, if I say this pen is shorter than a feet or a foot, I need to know what a foot is. 12 inches, for example, right? I have a standard to measure against. So what is your standard, and where is it rooted or grounded on? Based on that standard, you're saying, I'm finding it unacceptable. I'm comfortable.
The society I live in and everything that got programmed, from school, from my environment.
Do you think this is the right standard to take?
That's another question that I have to reflect about myself.
Not you. I want to speak to the other brothers, right?
Of course,
do you all think that the standards we should take is the standards that society at any time gives? Like today, for example, man marries man is okay. Do you accept that?
We don't accept that. The reason is why.
So wait, slowly. If you don't accept something from the society as a standard, then you cannot take that society to give you that standards. Standard has to be objective. Where is the objective standard that you can take and say, I will take everything that comes from that standard? You can't pick and choose, cherry picking what I like, right? That's the disease of a heart.
I need to just explain further what we meant, because all three of us, we are Muslims. Like one of us, he is Muslim, and two others, we are like,
Yeah, what's the standard based on then, brothers? If you're Muslim,
that's where we're coming to. So we are of course
Wait,
going from the,
wait. Brother, I do apologize for interrupting. Did you just say? I thought it was one of you that was Muslim and one of you who's searching, and earlier you said that we don't. You said that both of you guys didn't believe in something. So please be
that's
consistent.
we are telling you.
What's going on? Because it's either one of you is Muslim, the other one's not Muslim. Now all of you are Muslim, and then back
We
then
can
both of you
explain,
did not. Both of you had a problem with this. So which is which now?
No, we can explain,
Yeah,
all three of us.
I can explain my side again. I was raised in a Muslim household, and I would never, honestly, I would never consider myself as a Muslim. But as I told you from the start, my parents are practicing Muslims.
So no, but what I'm asking is, one of you said that you were. Who was that?
That was our third friend that was Muslim, and he's the one that.
So there's three of you guys.
Yeah,
we are three guys here. The one you talked to before, Omar, he is Muslim, and we two are like.
Where is Omar right now, bro?
And what did Omar say when you asked him the question?
Omar,
no, we all are sitting here. Here is Omar.
Let me just hear Omar's voice. Omar, are you in the room right now?
I'm here.
Okay, bro, with all due respect, man, you need to get some new friends, dude.
I was about to say the same thing.
I'm gonna be the straight shooter here, but they're giving you dawah, bro. They're giving you dawah towards jahiliyyah, bro. Try toward if you yourself don't see this as a learning opportunity to see how nonsensical your friends are and what their standards are, and here's the end of their dawah, dude. Just come join us. We'll have a good time. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. That's the end of every single person's jahil dawah that is not upon the truth. Is just come hang out with us for a little bit. We're gonna have a good time, and don't worry about anything else.
And Umar, pay attention. Every single time, whenever we pin them, we ask them, it's all just wish-washy answers, nothing concrete. Every single time. And I've been counting. I even wrote down the number of times Mansoor Bhai asked him. I asked him several times. I will ask them again right now before letting them go, okay? And Umar, if you truly are a Muslim, okay, I'm not doubting you, but this is a question for you to ask your friends after after you guys are gone from here, okay? Yeah. Did anybody back then object to this marriage? Ask them this, okay? Especially this one gentleman that is pretending to be your friend. I don't know if you know this, but he has been on this channel. He has been with me so many times. I've spoken to him over 3 times.
No, this
okay.
Is first
okay. Shush. Please. I'm speaking. Please.
You need to respect.
You're not going to interrupt me. You're not going to interrupt us on our stream. You will not be interrupted on our stream. Thank you. Okay. And then second thing, ask him, before the 20th century, was there anybody, any non-Muslims that even hated Muslims with all their passion? Okay, did they ever point this out to be an issue?
No.
Not even once.
Yes. No, the answer is no, yeah.
Okay. Again, so many times we established our criteria with him, no answers, 0 answers from both of these friends of yours. Like I'm holding myself back from actually, saying something that I'll regret later on. But like the brother said, get yourself new friends, my man. New friends. These 2 guys, bad news, bro. Bad news.
Yeah.
Look, bro, we're going to let you go because we have someone that wants to take their shahada. Alhamdulillah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Time is better spent right there. So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide your buddies, dude, and be really cautious.
Just one quick. Yeah, of course. I'd never get to ask my question, but I will have it very short,
okay, go ahead. And I'm going to give you the world's shortest response. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. No, because it's on the same topic. The verse 65:4. That's what I wanted to explain when it's come to the Eid. And who is laughing?
It's one of your buddies, man. It ain't one
of
us.
No, not my buddies. But okay, anyway, because Brother Ali, he told us that the the sign of maturity is mens, but 65:4 is telling you can marriage even if the girl have not menstruation. So that's what our point. A child marriage is allowed in Islam.
Yeah,
Wrong altogether. You're absolutely wrong here. Now shall I do you want to ask me why you're wrong?
World's shortest
Come on.
answer.
Do you want to ask me why you're wrong? Because you don't know Arabic language.
That was my question. Yeah, thank you.
No, because you don't know Arabic language, and that's the problem. Okay, so if you really want to know what it means, go and learn about Arabic language, and I'll give you the answer. The whole surah talks about from the very beginning. Look how it starts the surah. Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu idha tallaqtumun nisa. Nisa in the Arabic language doesn't mean a 2-year-old girl, does it? Or a 6-year-old girl, is it? Nisa. So let me test your understanding of what you are trying to understand. Nisa,
Brother Mansur,
Nisa. Excuse me.
No, I will go there.
Excuse me. One second. Don't you speak like CP? You sound like CP, but brother.
Can I speak?
Nisa in the Arabic language, does it refer to? You're not listening to me. I'm asking you a
I
question.
just want to clear my argument.
I don't want to hear an argument. I am now asking you some questions.
Yes.
Nisa in the Arabic language, does it mean a girl or does it mean an adult woman? Sorry?
Sorry, what did you tell me?
Nisa in the Arabic language, does it refer to girl or adult women?
It's a woman.
Adult women or a girl?
Adult woman, yes, not a girl.
Adult woman. So the whole surah starts by saying, the Prophet saying, if you divorce your adult women, and then it continues. So in the verse that you're talking about, ayah 4, it talks about what? And about your women, min nisaikum. Is it referring to women or girls?
Can I explain now?
I don't want you to explain. You tell me. When it says, excuse me, when it says nisa, you said nisa means adult women. So those of your adult women who have gone past the age of menstruation, or those who have not menstruated yet, right? Is it referring to adult women still or someone else? Like a man, for example.
But I'm answering you because...
No, before you answer, I want you to tell me from the language itself. It's from the language itself. Nisa, nisaikum. Does it refer to adult women or not? I don't want you to give me the tafsir of X, Y, and Z, because the mufassirun can try to understand and add additional things on it. No problem.
You knew what I was going to bring up, because when it comes to the other case, you accept all the tafsir, but when it comes to this point,
I am saying I am not going to the tafsir. Tafsir is not necessary here because the language itself tells you what it is. So from the very beginning, it's talk about adult women.
So you reject tafsir scholars. I want to understand.
I do not reject tafsir of scholars. So Umar, you are so disingenuous. I ask you again.
You're
in this verse, look. You see what? You see what's happening now? You're being pumped up. Look,
but
you can't even dialogue. You can't even have a dialogue now like you did in the very beginning. 1 second. This ayah in this surah talks about, from the very beginning, Allah commanding the Prophet ﷺ, when you, and of course the people, when you divorce your adult women, because nisa is an adult woman in the Arabic language, unless you bring from the Arabic lexicon, nisa means a little girl, then we can talk. Until you do that, nisa in the Arabic language is adult women. And then the verse continues, وَاللَّائِي يَئِسْنَا مِنَ الْمَحِيضِ مِن نِسَائِكُمْ إِنِ ارْتَبْتُمْ فَعِدَّتُهُنَّ ثَلَاثَةُ أَشْهُرٍ وَاللَّائِي لَمْ يَحِضْنَ, and those who also have not menstruated. Now, since this verse from the very beginning talks about women, in this verse talks about women, is it a case there where there might be some women who cannot menstruate? The answer is yes, because you do not know anything about women. That's what Brother Fawad is telling you already about. There are women medically, even though they're adults, they cannot menstruate. So this verse, in the ayah, without any recourse to any tafsir, one can easily say it's talking about these women who have not menstruated, because they are indeed categories of women because of their medical condition, they cannot menstruate. Yet we still need ahkam, hukum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to still tell us, people, how are we going to deal with these people in terms of marriage, in terms of the waiting period, just because they don't have this menstruation. So your recourse now is, oh, this talks about in this tafsir X, Y, and Z. That's the problem. Instead of understanding the text, you go to the explanation. So your quarrel is not with the Quran. Your quarrel is with the exegesis of the Mufassirun, their interpretation. You go and quarrel with them. I don't mind. But when you come to the Quran and you argue with me, I will challenge you. So now I'm asking you now, the verse that you were trying to quote for your support, does it support you or not?
Brother Mansoor, so we can agree to disagree because
no, it's not agreeing to disagree. Not when it comes to the Quran. I'm sorry. Not when it comes to the Quran. I cannot just simply agree to disagree. Quran is very clear. Bayyin. Very clear.
Can I speak? Just I told you.
Why do you want to speak, brother? It's time to go, brother. Okay, let's let it go. Let's go. Take care.
Yeah, I think he needs a good old reflection period.